So, how many of you have read an emotional intelligence book in your life? Yeah, all of us, right? Well, let me tell you just a little bit about myself. I have applied emotional intelligence tools virtually to every area of my life. And the most visible part of my success with emotional intelligence has been in my career. I started out in entry level sales and climbed the corporate ladder all the way up to president of an IT company. And at this IT company, we were having a tremendous amount of issues in culture, but most of them were really stemming from out of control emotions. And I remember talking to the CEO, and I said to him, you know what, I have a background in this, and I can really, really help. And he said, no, we are not going to deal with this on an emotional level. We're only going to deal with this on an intellectual level. How many of you can relate to this, right? So, why is emotional intelligence so important, right? We've read the books, right? And the moment that an emotional intelligence issue arose, like if you were like me, I had no idea what to do. Like, literally, my first thought was, okay, what did that book say to do? And then I had the good fortune to join this study group where we immersed ourselves into emotionality for almost 10 years. And it was in this place that I learned all of these hands-on tools that I teach. It teaches team building. How do we really build strong relationships every single day? All right, let's get to it. So, how do we heal the divisiveness within the world? Now, divisiveness shows up everywhere, right? It shows up at home, it shows up at work, friends, family, even at the holiday dinner table, right? Now, we are on the heels of our most recent presidential election, and we can feel the political polarization, right? The divisiveness. Now, this is not a political conversation at all. It's really an example of the divisiveness that gets our attention. So, healing divisiveness begins with each one of us individually. Until we can heal the judgment that contributes to the energy of the divisiveness, there will be no peace. So it starts with each one of us individually. So here's the tool: self awareness. Now, I like to reframe self awareness to self discovery, because when we understand who we are at the core, then we move from a place of our authentic self. Some people call it sovereignty, some people call it empowerment, but actually, we come from this place of truth. So I teach a tool where we actually start to begin to reflect on, well, where do I feel divisive? And we start to reflect on all of those feelings, right? I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm uncertain, doubt, righteousness, that pointing finger, right? And the reason why this is so important is if we want to build strong relationships every single day, righteousness does not bring people towards us. So, what we do is we start to look at deeply, well, why do I feel so righteous? Where does this come from? And for me, when I looked really deep, I had to admit, I am my father's daughter, right? As a kid, the righteous conversations that we had at the dinner table every night shaped how I think. And I really had to think, is this really what I want to carry with me? Or do I want to let it go for good? So when we come from this place of our core truth, I'm no longer arguing for my beliefs, or more importantly, I'm no longer hiding from being a minority in maybe the group of people that I'm with. So, how do we heal this within our culture? How do we heal it within our teams? And more importantly, I teach you how to heal it in your life. Okay, next tool. I have a program manager. His name is Scott. And he came to me one day and he said, Kim, I need you to tell Tom, who's my most brilliant engineer, I need you to tell him that he needs to get his work done sooner. And I said, okay. So I asked Scott some questions. Does he turn his work in on time? Yes. Is it good work? Yeah. Does the team have everything that they need in order to proceed with testing and implementation? Yeah. Well, No, I'm not going to tell Tom he's got to turn his work in sooner because he has the same autonomy over his work responsibilities that you do. And Scott rolls his eyes at me. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. Do you like Tom? And he says, yeah, I think he's arrogant, but yeah, I like him. And if I were to ask you what you think Tom thinks of you, what would you say? And he says, well, I think Tom thinks I'm arrogant too, but actually probably more of a pain in his backside than anything. I said, okay. So do you really think that it's Tom that you're mad at, or that you're both using arrogance to try to get what you want or don't want? And it feels derogatory and demeaning. And he says, well, I guess when you put it that way, I guess we are both fighting for control. And then I asked, well, why do you think Tom works like this? And he said, well, Tom has two young children under the age of 2. So by the time he gets home and their nighttime routine, the kids are in bed 7, 8 o'clock, he's got a lot on his plate. I said, yeah, and you know what? He's actually online after he puts the kids to bed. Scott nods his head. And I said, so what do you think the truth is between the both of you? And Scott says, well, I guess I didn't realize that we were stoking the fire with our anger towards each other, and that's not helping anything. And I said, yeah, what else is the truth? And he said, well, I guess I didn't realize he had so much on his plate and that he's always delivered on time, and I just have to trust he's going to do it. It's going to be hard for me, but I'm going to trust. So here's what really happened. So Scott goes back to Tom and he's shifted. Scott's no longer angry. He's no longer pushing. And he comes up to Tom and he says, okay, I'm going to trust you're going to get your work done. I'll see you on Friday. Tom says, okay, great. See you Friday. But here's the bigger thing that happened. So Scott was going to the rest of the team and complaining about Tom, and Tom was going to the rest of the team and complaining about Scott. And when the contention released between the two of them, it also released between the rest of the team. So the rest of the team could come back and work cohesively and happily do what it is that they want. So I have a bonus tool for you. So how do we use and heal the divisiveness at the holiday dinner table? So how many of you have that person that we just dread sitting next to at the table, right? We all have one. And I have my cousin. She's super opinionated politically and very negative about her neighbors. And I want you to use this tool, curiosity. So may I say to Luann, Luann, you're so passionate about your beliefs. Why is that? And Luann says, a few years ago, I had my accident, and it took me almost 2 years to get my disability insurance. And I had to work to pay my bills. I could barely move, but I had to go do it. And my neighbor across the street were in the exact same situation, and they're not working. I see them every single day. They're still in their home. They're still buying groceries. Me, I have to pull it up by my bootstraps. And it's easy for them. And in that moment, I recognized that Luann was just tangled up in her emotional woundedness. It had nothing to do with me. And I shifted. I became neutral. My energy relaxed, which made her energy relax. She complained a lot less. But actually, as we all relaxed at the dinner table, we all had a much better time. So I invite all of you to use these hands-on tools to apply them to your everyday life. Empathy, curiosity, wonder, self-discovery. It will heal the divisiveness within your teams, within the workplace, and more importantly, within your family and your own life. Thank you so much. I look forward to hearing the success that you have too.